In video number 12, let's discuss the demand curve. Having understood what is individual demand and what is market demand, let's go ahead to discuss the demand curve. Individual demand is the demand by an individual consumer, whereas market demand is the sum of the demand of all the consumers in an economy. Now let's look at the individual demand schedule. Now when the price is 1 rupee, the quantity demanded is 4 units. A further rise in price of the commodity decreases to 3 units. And if the price increases further to 3 and 4 rupees, the quantity demanded reduces further to 2 and 1 respectively. Right? So let's try to now plot the graph to understand the demand curve for an individual. Now we saw for 1 rupee, the demand is 4 units. We plot the price on the y-axis and quantity demanded on the x-axis. So here we find for 1 rupee, the demand is 4 units. So somewhere over here. Then for 2 rupees, the quantity demanded is 3 units. So it would be somewhere over here. 3 units for 2 rupees. 3 rupees, 2 units. So 3 rupees and 2 units would be somewhere over here. And 4 rupees, it is 1. So 4 rupees, 1 unit. If we try to join these points, we find that the demand curve is downward sloping. And it is steeper. So this is downward sloping and it is steeper. So these are the 2 points that we notice when we draw this demand curve. Now further extending our discussion to market demand schedule. Let's assume that consumer A consumes 4 units for 1 rupee, 3 units for 2 rupees, 2 units for 3 rupees and 1 unit for rupees 4. Consumer B, his schedule is 5 units for 1 rupee, 4 units for 2 rupees, 3 units for 3 rupees and 2 units for 4 rupees. Now the market demand would be the sum of consumer A and consumer B's demand. 4 plus 5 equal to 9. 3 plus 4 equal to 7. 2 plus 3 equal to 5. 1 plus 2 equal to 3. Now if we try to plot these 3 graphs over here, we find consumer A's graph to be 1 rupee, there are 4 units. So 1 rupee, there are 4 units. Then here we have 3 units for 2 rupees, 2 units for 3 rupees and 1 unit for 4 rupees. So this is the demand schedule for consumer A. Consumer B's schedule is for 1 rupee there are 5 units. So it's somewhere over here. Then 4 units for 2 rupees, 3 units for 3 rupees and 2 units for 4 rupees. Right? So this is going to be consumer B's demand schedule or demand curve. Let's now plot the market demand. Now here we find for 1 rupee, 9 units is the demand and 7 units for 2 rupees. So 7 is over here and 2 is here. 5 units for 3 rupees. So 5 units for 3 rupees would be somewhere over here, right? And 3 units for 4 rupees. So 4 rupees and 3 units is over here. So we find the demand curve to be, this is the market demand, to be flatter. It is flatter and all the demand curves are downward sloping. So all the demand curves are downward sloping and the market demand curve is flatter than the individual demand curves. Having learned the individual and the market demand, let's now understand what the law of demand says. The law of demand states that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, keeping other factors constant. This other factors constant is otherwise called ceteris paribus. Right? Now, let's understand this. What is that? It is the inverse relationship. That means price and quantity are inversely proportional to each other. It means when the price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. And when the price falls, the quantity demanded increases. So this is what is inverse relationship. One goes up, the other goes down. And when one goes down, the other one goes up. So this is the inverse relationship. Now, what do we understand by other factors constant? The other factors, here we are talking only about the price and the quantity demanded. The other factors are, as we learned, the determinants of the demand: own price, price of related goods, income, tastes and preferences, and expected change in price. So, except for the own demand, nothing, everything is said to be constant. That is ceteris paribus. Now, let's understand this with the help of some numbers. When price is 5, quantity is 1 unit. When price is 4, quantity is 2 units. When price falls to 3, quantity increases to 3. And when price falls to 2, quantity further increases to 4. And when price falls down to 1 rupee, the quantity increases by 5 units. Now, if we try to plot the graph, as we saw just now, it is a downward sloping curve. Now, whenever we learn a demand, we need some assumptions. We need to make some assumptions. And by assumptions, the law holds good only when we have certain assumptions. What are these assumptions? Now, we learned ceteris paribus, meaning other factors keeping constant. This law, that is the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, holds good. So, when prices of substitute goods does not change, is the first assumption. Substitute goods, we mean the related goods. For example, the Coke and Pepsi are substitute goods. So, when the price of one good increases, the demand for the other good falls. So, that is, if this is kept constant, only then the law of demand holds good. Then prices of complementary goods is constant. Complementary goods are pen and ink, car and petrol. So what happens is when prices of petrol increases, the demand for cars falls. So law of demand will not hold good if prices of complementary goods is not kept constant. Income remains constant. Any change in income would change the demand. An increase in income means increase in demand, and a fall in income would mean fall in quantity demanded. The assumption is no expectation of change in price in the future. If the prices are going to increase in near future, the demand immediately increases. And the reverse happens when the prices are expected to fall. Then tastes and preferences remain the same. If your tastes and preferences change, the demand for the goods also change. Now, what are the reasons for this law of demand to function? The first of them is a law of diminishing marginal utility. According to this law of diminishing marginal utility, the consumption of a commodity increases, marginal utility of each successive unit goes on diminishing. So, as consumption increases, the marginal utility falls. So, this would imply that the consumer would buy less and less of the good. So, when the price falls, the consumer would buy more units of the good. The second is the substitution effect. It refers to substitution of one commodity for the other when it becomes relatively cheaper. So when price of substitute good falls, the demand for the other good falls, and vice versa. We saw the example of Pepsi and Coke. So when the price of Pepsi goes up, the demand for Coke goes up. And when the price of Pepsi falls, the demand for Coke falls. Right? The third one is the income effect. When the prices of the goods fall, the consumer will have more purchasing power. So he'll have more money in his hand. And so the demand increases. Then the fourth one is alternate uses. When, see, certain goods have alternate uses, more than one use. So when price of such goods like milk, which has got many uses, electricity, got many uses, increases, when the price of such goods increases, the uses are restricted because the price is more. And so what happens is the demand for less important goods decreases. So what's more important will be given more importance because the price is more. And when the price falls, this product will be put to many different uses. Let's also discuss the exceptions to the law of demand. According to the law of demand, there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, and so the demand curve is downward sloping. Now, exceptions would mean that it is not downward sloping anymore. So, as the price increases, the demand also increases. So, it becomes a positive slope, it goes up. Let's see how. The first exception to this is Giffen goods. What are Giffen goods? Giffen goods are highly inferior goods. They show high negative income effect. That is, when prices of these goods fall, the demand also falls. So as the price falls, the demand also falls. This is otherwise called Giffen paradox. Now, the second one is articles of social distinction. These goods are demanded only because of their prices, because the prices are high. So what happens is when the prices fall, these are, they are just neglected. The demand shrinks, so the demand goes down. For example, the vintage cars. People talk of their proud this thing that I have got this, I have got that for that price. So when the prices go up, their demand also increases. Vintage cars, diamonds, etc. So here also when the price goes up, the demand also goes up. Now, the other one is irrational judgment. That is judgment by price. People think that if the good is highly priced, then it should be of good quality. So this is something very irrational, an irrational judgment. For example, the organic and the non-organic products that are available in the market. So people of high income group, they feel that if it is an organic one, that should be of high quality, and so it is more in demand, right?